Right now, though, we want to talk farming, agriculture and the agricultural sector. National MP, or Selwyn MP, Nicola Grigg, has suggested that Labor's economic mismanagement is hurting our farmers. She said in a National Party press release that for this sector to continue to carry the New Zealand economy during turbulent times, the government needs to rein in spending on compliance and advice and instead cut costs for the most productive sector of this country. Nicola Grigg MP joins us on the show now. Nicola, welcome to the platform. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Sean. It's lovely to be here. Congratulations on getting it up and running.
Thank you. All right. So, look, I would have looked, for instance, at the budget and said farmers actually dodged a bullet there. They're not in the ETS, and they got, hundreds of millions of dollars for research into how to make the environment better and stop their cows burping and farting. What is it that's hurting farmers?
Well, you're not the only one that would have thought that, Sean, because I think, I've described this budget as a masterclass in smoke and mirrors. It is a great big headline, saying we're investing $1 billion into agriculture, but, you've worked the political press gallery traps before and you've seen plenty of budgets. And you know how when you go line by line through those new appropriations, there's just all sorts of spending in there that I don't necessarily think your average farmer would consider was an investment in agriculture. And by that I mean, there's a line item in there that includes $68 million for an MPI staff collective agreement. I would argue that's not necessarily an investment in agriculture.
Whoa, hang on. Let's, what does that mean? To negotiate some sort of unionised deal?
It is described as impact to address the impact of changes to the Ministry for Primary Industries collective agreements, $68.1 million. So, that's just one example. Then we've got, $95 million for, quote, integrated advisory services to support more sustainable land use practices. Well, what does that mean? And yet you're absolutely right. That pre-budget announcement of $300 million into greenhouse gas research, brilliant. We support that. We support the concept of it, but where we have questions is what will the outcomes be? How will this money actually be spent? This announcement for the centre, it actually sounds very similar to other centres that are already in operation around the world that New Zealand is a signatory to. So I would hate to think that this announcement was actually doubling up on work that's already been done. But then you go back through, the announcement, and we've got $118 million for advisory services and $40 million for Stuart Nash to allegedly transform the forestry and wood processing sector. Well, again, what does that mean? What is his ROI? What is he going to come out with, that $40 million? And then the part that I find slightly discomforting is $32 million for Meka Whaitiri to basically unleash a whole heap of compliance and enforcement officers on farmers around New Zealand. They're going to have more and more on-farm inspections regarding their animal welfare practices, and I just don't think that is appropriate in this current environment.
Okay, so your main criticism seems to be not that farmers are being specifically hurt by any policies in the budget, but that the spending in the budget is ill-defined and of low quality.
Well, a bit of both, actually. I mean, I think, like any business in New Zealand, farmers are also being hurt by government policy, and that is out-of-control spending. It is ratcheting inflation rates. It is, massive amounts of money to service debt going forward. It's increased costs on farm. I mean, like everyone, farmers use fuel. Well, that's up 44%. Fertilisers up 28%, power's up 21%, feed and seed is up about 6%. And, as I say, like any other business, they are being impacted by the decisions being made by Grant Robertson.
All right. What about other issues affecting farmers? How do farmers feel about an issue like, say, Three Waters?
I think, like most New Zealanders, are highly disturbed by it. Farmers also have been paying money towards the local ownership of their assets, and they feel like they're going to be stripped away from them, and they will have no say over the future management or governance of them.
Well, you'd mentioned governance. How do farmers feel about co-governance?
I think, like most New Zealanders, they feel we're all New Zealanders and everybody should have an equal representation.
All right. What do you think about co-governance?
Well, we've always been of the view that we don't agree with co-governance of public asset. There are, situations in recent history where it is right that some iwi have governance of certain environmental assets, like the
water,
Wanganui River, like the Te Ororos. No. I mean, like the likes of the Wanganui River and the Urowera. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's been proven to actually be a sustainable, healthy relationship. But where we absolutely draw the line is in any race-based government policy.
All right, so you do draw the line at that, because I have to say your leader looks reluctant to engage on those issues.
Oh, I don't think he has been at all. I think he's been very clear on it.
All right. What could the government do for farmers, and what would a national-led government do for farmers differently than what is happening now?
Well, look, I don't think this is about picking favourites. I mean, first of all, we have to acknowledge and respect that the agricultural industry is one of our biggest export earners at the moment. I think we're hitting export receipts of just about $50 billion, which is just unheard of. But as I referred to earlier, these businesses are being massively impacted by government spending. And so, like every other business across New Zealand, we're suggesting that the government has to move all levers it has to pull back inflation, and that means returning the Reserve Bank to its single focus, on price stability. It means reducing costs on businesses where possible. I mean, farming is probably one of the most regulated industries in this entire country. It means removing bottlenecks in the economy, and I think every single business would turn to you and say that is an immigration. Every single farmer I know is absolutely desperate for staff, whether they're vets, whether they're dairy support workers, whether they're contractors, harvesters. People need staff in this country. We've got to rein in government spending, and I would also say we do need to prioritise tax relief for workers.
All right. Look at the latest polls. Do you think you are going to be in government next time? Because I don't know which poll to trust at the moment.
Yeah, well, they jump around a lot, don't they, Sean, as you know very well. I mean, look, it's heartening. It's heartening that the message that we are delivering to the country is getting through. I think New Zealanders are feeling completely disillusioned with this current government. But, we're a long way to go. It's a two-horse race, and, we're 18.
Oh, come on, there are more than two horses in the race. There's the Greens, there's Ag.
Yeah, it's a drag race, as Bill English used to say. It's a drag race. But, we've still got a lot of work to do to earn back the trust and respect of the electorate. And I was one of those MPs that came in after 2020 when it was an absolute bloodletting for us, and it's been a baptism of fire. We had a lot of learning to do, but I think we've got there, and I think we're doing really well. But the reason we're doing well is because we're actually listening to New Zealanders.
Nicola Grigg, I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. That is National MP, the MP for Selwyn, Nicola Grigg.